under the lights of the Metropolitano. Two clubs who have spent decades chasing the same dream are now just 3 matches away from making history. Atletico Madrid and Arsenal have never won the European Cup. Both have come painfully close, and tonight one of them takes the first step towards changing that. A very good evening from Madrid. I'm Charlie, and welcome to live commentary of this UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg. And after what we saw last night, there is undeniably a little pressure on this game to deliver. Paris Saint-Germain and FC Bayern Munich produced one of those brilliant, breathless European nights. Goals, momentum swings, late drama, and a tie that remains beautifully poised heading into next week. This may not be quite as chaotic as that. Knowing these two coaches, it may be a little bit more measured, a little more tactical, perhaps a little more tense. But that does not make it any less significant. For Atletico, this feels enormous. It's their first Champions League semi-final in 9 years, and there is real emotional weight attached to this run. They've twice reached the final and twice been beaten by Real Madrid. They've repeatedly watched their city rivals celebrate the trophy they crave the most, but there is no Real Madrid standing in their way this time. Diego Simeone remains in pursuit of the one prize missing from his extraordinary reign, and with Antoine Griezmann expected to leave at the end of the season, there is a growing feeling around this club that this group may not get too many more opportunities quite like this one. Their route here has been anything but straightforward. They were beaten 4-0 by Arsenal earlier in the competition. They finished 14th in the league phase and had to come through the playoffs. Since then, though, they've scored freely. They knocked out Club Brugge, edged past Tottenham Hotspur in a thriller, and then eliminated Barcelona in an all-Spanish quarter-final. Their 34 goals in this competition are the most they've ever scored in a European campaign. Domestically, though, things have looked shakier. They've lost 4 of their last 5 matches, were beaten on penalties in the Copa del Rey final, and their league title ambitions have long since drifted away. Europe has become the obsession, quite literally. One of the songs regularly heard around this stadium includes the line, "The Champions League is my obsession." You suspect we'll hear plenty of that tonight. Arsenal arrive with a very different profile. Mikel Arteta's side have looked calm, organised and relentlessly, if unspectacularly efficient at times in Europe. They became the first team to win all 8 matches in the league phase under this new format. They remain unbeaten in the competition, and they've conceded just 5 goals in 12 matches. They have comfortably the best defensive record remaining in the tournament. They are still balancing a Premier League title race as well, and that challenge remains significant, especially considering recent results. But Europe has often looked like the place where this side has found its clearest rhythm. They eliminated Bayer Leverkusen before squeezing past Sporting Lisbon to get here. They'll also take confidence from what happened when these teams met in October. Arsenal absolutely dismantled Atletico that night in North London. Gabriel scored, Martinelli scored, and Victor Gyökeres scored twice in a 4-0 victory. It was one of Atletico's lowest points in this competition. What they do tonight is their chance to show how far they've come since then. Let's bring you the team news, starting with the hosts. Diego Simeone names a very familiar Atletico side, and there are some pretty important fitness boosts. Jan Oblak starts in goal despite concerns in the build-up. Ademola Lookman is fit enough to begin, and David Hansko also returns. Most notably, Julian Alvarez returns to the starting lineup after missing the previous 3 with a thigh problem and only appearing off the bench at the weekend. Atletico line up with Oblak in goal, Marcos Llorente, Mark Pubil, David Hansko and Matteo Ruggieri across the back. Giuliano Simeone, Koke and Johnny Cardoso in midfield. Ademola Lookman and Antoine Griezmann support Julian Alvarez. And if Simeone wants to change things later, Alexander Sørloth, Alex Baena and Thiago Almada are among the options waiting on the bench. For Arsenal, there are 2 changes from the side that beat Newcastle United 1-0 at the weekend. The injured Kai Havertz misses out, and Eberechi Eze drops to the bench. Into the side come Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Martinelli. Gyökeres needs no introduction to Atletico supporters after scoring twice in that 4-0 win earlier in the competition. Martinelli has 6 goals in Europe this season and also scored in that previous meeting. Arsenal start with David Raya in goal. Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel and Piero Hincapié, the Ecuadorian, at left-back. Martin Odegaard, Martin Zubimendi and Declan Rice make up the midfield trio. Gabriel Martinelli and Noni Madueke play either side of Victor Gyökeres. And the bench is stacked too. Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Leandro Trossard and Eberechi Eze, all available if required. So it's beautifully set. Atletico emotional, aggressive, explosive. Arsenal disciplined, composed and incredibly difficult to break down. And with 90 more minutes still to come in North London next weekend as they kick off at the Metropolitano, the first chapter of this semi-final story begins right here. Arsenal in their change strip, blue shirts, white shorts, white socks. Atletico in that familiar, if somewhat unconventional outfit, red and white stripes, blue shorts, blue socks, and it's Oblak that pumps it down the right-hand side towards Giuliano Simeone. Hincapié has slipped and Simeone has profited here. He's got Griezmann alongside him. Here is Simeone, Griezmann shifted on to Alvarez, tries the shot from the edge of the box. That's a straight at Zubimendi. And Odegaard will tidy things up for Arsenal. There were some concerns from the English media and the Arsenal camp about the state of the pitch at the Metropolitano. The Atletico Madrid president Enrique Cerezo spoke to reporters earlier this evening and brushed off those complaints with a smile, saying, I bet they haven't come here to see it for themselves. He says the pitch is perfect. He says it's fantastic. And he doesn't know what they're complaining about. Well, the early signs, especially from Hincapié there, suggests maybe those critiques were not unfounded, as it's juggled on this right-hand side by Llorente, the 31-year-old fullback. A free kick goes Atletico's way. Gyökeres was left on his rear end, but it will be the Atletico set piece, which they work across their back line. Forward to the London-born Ademola Lookman, Nigeria international, came through the ranks at Charlton. He'll know Arsenal very well during his time in London youth football. Here he is, a real boost to Atletico this evening. Here is Lookman, tries to link up with Koke, a vastly experienced Atletico Madrid captain, and that'll trundle out of play for an Arsenal goal kick. Well, Koke has described this semi-final as like a first date with a girl you like. Antoine Griezmann speaks about this club. He says it's a word more than love. They've come so close, the pair of them. You have to turn your mind back to that famous All-Madrid final where Sergio Ramos broke Atletico hearts. They were both involved in that era. Koke now 34 years old. He suspects that this might be his last chance to lift the Champions League as Atletico Madrid captain, if they can make it to the final. Another slip on the near side. Hincapié kept his footing. Koke didn't. And that's a misplaced pass from Gabriel, which rolls out of play on the near side. Koke will take the throw in for Atletico Madrid. Both managers on the edge of their technical areas, as they so often like to stay. Diego Simeone, it's always become a trademark of his, an all-black suit. Mikel Arteta, inspired by Pep Guardiola, not just in terms of his coaching, but his fashion sense as well. Nice pair of grey chinos paired with that turtleneck and bomber jacket on the touchline. Here's the Slovakian Hansko. Looks to play it down the left-hand side. A little bit too much on the pass towards Ademola Lookman, so Arsenal will have the throw-in just inside the Atletico half of the pitch. Well, a mixed bag of results for Arsenal over recent weeks. Defeats to Bournemouth and Manchester City. They beat Sporting Lisbon away in Portugal, but it was a narrow win and a 0-0 victory. 0-0 result, I should say, at the Emirates in the return leg, which has seen them travel to the Metropolitano this evening. Here comes Alvarez looking for Griezmann. It's good work from Hincapié just to get his body across the Frenchman and clear the danger. Up towards halfway where it's picked up by Mark Pubel. No Hansko. Just outside the centre circle. Down the left-hand side for Ademola Lookman. He's got Ruggeri in support alongside him. Lookman back into midfield for the United States international Johnny Cardoso. Brazilian-born, USA native. Here's Koke. Hansko, the Slovakia international, on the left-hand side of those two centre-backs. Lookman on the left, plays it against White. Get another bite at it, and he'll turn it backwards. Ruggeri is cross-blocked, and this time picked up by Declan Rice. Finds Martinelli, trying to chart a course to the middle of the Atletico Madrid midfield. The loose ball bounces back to him on this right-hand side, and he'll feed Noni Madueke. Steps infield onto his left foot, Madueke. That's laid off to the Arsenal captain Ødegaard. The cutback pulled into midfield. Here's Hincapié. 35 yards from goal. Arsenal keeping the ball pretty confidently here, with Zubimendi in control of it at the moment. Laid off to Gabriel. Now here's Declan Rice. Probably one of their players of the season, you'd say, Arsenal. Rice. Here's Madueke, little chop on the corner of the box and burst past two men into the penalty area. High ball towards the back post. They're closing in on it, but it's behind. It was Piero Hincapié and Gabriel Martinelli both there. I think they might have really got in each other's way, to be honest. It's brilliant from Noni Madueke. Just accelerated past both Lookman and Ruggeri to open up the space for the cross. And I think Hincapié probably has the better chance of this. Martinelli tries to rise. He's ducked underneath it, and I'm not sure Hincapié is expecting it to drop to him. It's pretty good defensive work, you have to say, from Giuliano Simeone, who just eases Martinelli underneath the fly to the ball. It's the first real chance of the evening. It's into the side netting. Griezmann works it back. Here's Hansko, edge of the centre circle. Pubel. Griezmann. First time layoff. Found Alvarez. Now Simeone. Koke. Floated out to the left-hand side for Lookman. White in his way. Madueke getting back defensively as well. Lookman into the penalty area, finds Julian Alvarez, central position. Now Griezmann, right edge, off the box. Tucks it round the corner for Simeone. Hincapié got his body across. And David Raya will hold on to it. They've given the free kick Arsenal's way. He just rolls that out in front of him. And Giuliano Simeone, the manager's son, with a tug on the shirt of Hincapié. I think it's actually gone beyond the byline, and so probably a goal kick rather than the free kick I mentioned earlier on. We think Arsenal's results have been a mixed bag. Atletico Madrid's results have been pretty poor, you have to say. 3 defeats in their last 5, including a defeat to Barcelona. Wasn't enough to see them knocked out of the Champions League. Damaging one away at Elche as well. And we're down to 10 men. Thiago Almada was sent off in that one. He's on the bench this evening. Ball over the top. It's a good interception as well. Stretching there was Giuliano Simeone. It dropped to Gabriel Martinelli, but he runs out of space on the left-hand side for Arsenal. And Llorente is clever enough to let that trundle over the byline for an Atletico Madrid goal kick. 8 minutes gone at the Estadio Metropolitano, and it's still goalless between Atletico and Arsenal. Here's Lookman. Potential 7 games remaining this season for Arsenal. A host of matches in the Premier League where Manchester City have made up ground. Arsenal have slipped a little, just enough to allow Pep Guardiola's side to breathe down their neck. City with a game in hand in the Premier League. Next up for them, Everton. Next up for Arsenal, Fulham. At one point they were talking, weren't they, about the quadruple, the potential for Arsenal to win it all. This is a huge opportunity tonight to reach a first European Cup since 2006. And they were speaking quite seriously, people around this club, about this team being capable of winning everything, not necessarily within Arsenal itself, but the media and fans surrounding it. And that's how good they looked at some stages this season. But winning is all about momentum, and momentum has just started to ebb away from them. The domestic cups have gone. They've had those damaging league defeats. They're still right in the Premier League hunt, in pole position, albeit with a goal difference that isn't much to look at. They did beat Newcastle at the weekend, but again a stilted performance at times, and just the one goal in it. They need to score a few more to try and add to that breathing room over Manchester City tonight. A result wouldn't just be good for the Champions League campaign, but maybe confidence heading into those final games domestically. Here's Saliba. Bit of space inside the Atletico Madrid half of the pitch. It finds Madueke. Now here's Ødegaard. Closed down rapidly by Johnny Cardoso. Now Martin Ødegaard, speaking pre-match about his childhood dream of not just playing in the Champions League final but lifting the trophy too. He would be the man with the armband on in Budapest if Arsenal are to make it all the way. Swings a left-footed ball into the penalty area away by Simeone. That's poked forward by Koke. Clever to turn back, find Griezmann. And Cardoso looked out to the left-hand side, the pass over hit, but Lookman not quite up to the idea anyway. It's a big week of European football, all the major European competitions into the semi-final stage. And English representation across all of those tournaments as well. Aston Villa taking on Nottingham Forest for a place in the final of the Europa League. And Crystal Palace on their travels in Krakow to face Shakhtar Donetsk. In uncharted waters for the Eagles. They're back in their familiar territory, right in the middle of the Premier League table. After last year's exploits, winning the FA Cup and then the Community Shield at the start of this season, you wouldn't put it past them, adding another trophy. Long towards Alvarez, tried to peel away from Gabriel, who got to the ball first, but it's Atletico Madrid on the second loose ball. Griezmann, edge of the penalty area, couldn't quite control the little cutback. Gabriel couldn't control the clearance. Here is Alvarez. Gabriel pokes it away. Koke. Now with Hansko. Ruggeri on the left-hand side. It's Alvarez again. For the moment, Simeone is playing in the centre-forward position. As Julian Alvarez, the former City man, drops into the heart of the midfield. Llorente. Held up by Hincapié. Quick exchange of passes with Simeone, and the Ecuadorian international Piero Hincapié will see it out of play for Atletico Madrid throwing on the right-hand side. Different game entirely already for the one we saw last night between PSG and Bayern Munich. That one was a slugfest. Goals almost every 10 minutes. Well, on average every 10 minutes. 9 of them weren't there. Delicately poised as they head back in the second leg next week. Throwing opportunity here for Atletico. Giuliano Simeone with a long ball into the penalty area. That's flicked off the head of Gabriel. Drops into midfield. That's a 4-ball forward, really. Off the head of Mark Pubel. It is back to Jan Oblak without any incident. And now here's Koke. Pubel. Llorente. Pubel. Simeone, he's got Hincapié snapping at his heels, does well to find Cardoso. Now here's Koke backwards, and it's collected by Davy Hansko on the edge of his penalty area. Ruggeri and Simeone, the two youngest in the starting lineup tonight for Atletico Madrid. Here's Alvarez on the edge of the penalty area. He's got an opportunity maybe to get a shot away, and he will. But it's a good save from David Raya, diving away to his left. Julian Alvarez has 9 goals in the European Cup this season and almost added to another one there. Twisting and turning, got away from Gabriel. The tiniest of windows just opened up for Alvarez and he snapped his shot towards goal. It was a strong left hand from David Raya to push it round the post. First corner of the evening, and it's gone Madrid's way. That's the threat he poses, Alvarez. He's not a typical centre-forward as Griezmann in towards the goalkeeper, who claws it out from underneath the crossbar. Back out to Griezmann on this right-hand side. Left-footed ball swung in towards the back post. And Gabriel had to get that one away because they were queuing up at the back post, Atletico. And now a chance for Arsenal to break. Led forward by Victor Gyökeres. Llorente gets across, tries to put him under a bit of pressure. Gyökeres into the penalty area. There's the cutback. Chance for Odegaard. 2 bodies in the way. And it's Cardoso that'll poke it free for Atletico Madrid. Just starting to open up with 15 minutes gone at the Estadio Metropolitano. Great chance for Martin Odegaard. If he can get a bit of elevation on the effort, that might have tested Jan Oblak. Brilliant defending though. Pupil and Hansko combining to just get in the Arsenal captain's way there. Here's Alvarez in the heart of the Arsenal half of the pitch. Now Griezmann will take over. Cardoso is down the left-hand side by Koke. Now Lookman. Griezmann. Hansko halfway. Pupil right to the centre circle. Lofted up towards the corner of the box. There's Simeone. Bounces off Hincapié. But in the process he's fouled him. And that'll be a free kick for Arsenal on the corner of their own penalty area. Referee tonight, Danny McAuley. He took charge of Feyenoord versus Groningen in the Eredivisie, a win for Feyenoord. He's one of the most experienced officials in the Champions League. Well, Arsenal might have conceded 5 goals in the Champions League this season, but only 3 of those have been shipped by David Raya. Here's Madueke. Little chop back onto his left, corner of the box, finds Odegaard. Madueke again. Hung in towards the penalty spot. Gyökeres just eased himself into a bit of space. At the back post was Hincapié, but he's just wrestled himself into that sort of position. And that means it'll be a free kick for Atletico Madrid. Danny McAuley took charge of the quarter-final between Nottingham Forest and Porto 13 days ago, and was involved in Arsenal's game against Bayer Leverkusen. 2-0 win in the end at the Emirates for the Gunners. This is 74th Champions League game. The referee. First time he's reffed a game involving Atletico for 2 years. Last a 6-0 win for Atletico against Sparta Prague back in November of 2024. Could prove to be a good omen for Diego Simeone's side. There's Odegaard. It's Rice just dropping between the 2 centre-halves. Now Saliba slightly to his left. Odegaard again. Something into that quarterback role. Odegaard. Rice. Saliba. White's made a run down the right-hand side, and Saliba will look for him. Flag will stay down for the time being. Well, not anymore. There's the assistant referee on that far side, Hessel Stegsler. He raises his flag on that right flank. Still a bit early from Ben White. Clever defending in the end though from Matteo Ruggeri. One of the latest generations of Italian players who have moved away from Serie A for opportunities. He's got plenty of them as well since joining Atletico Madrid back in the summer. 41 appearances now. after switching across from Atalanta at the start of July. He's looking for his first goal as well, as Oblak's long ball is all the way through to David Raya at the other end of the pitch. The substitutes this evening for Arsenal, two goalkeepers, Kepa Arrizabalaga and Tommy Setford. Christian Mosquera, Ricardo Calafiori, Miles Lewis Skelly and Marley Salmon. The 16-year-old, big night for him. He centre back on the Arsenal bench this evening. Eberechieze, Christian Norgard joined Max Dowman, one of the latest Arsenal stars from the academy, alongside Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus and Leandro Trossard. There's been whispers and rumours about a departure from the Emirates for the former Brighton man, linked with a return back to Belgium. Here's Martinelli on the left-hand side. Push to Gabriel. Right in the centre circle. Arsenal with all their outfield players inside the Atletico half of the pitch. Gabriel again. It's down the left for Martinelli. Simeone backpedaling. Inside it goes to Zubimendi. Tries to go onto the back post. They've got options there, Arsenal. Gyökeres and Madueke both wanted the ball. And it's off an Atletico body in behind for a corner kick. Gyökeres has gone down holding his nose here. It was just an outstretched arm from David Hansko, I think it was. The two wingers have done well, and the ball's on the opposite flank, cutting in and adding to the numbers in the penalty area. He's actually caught one from his own teammate there, Victor Gyökeres. It was Noni Madueke who's caught him with his right arm as he challenged for that aerial ball. Drawn a little bit of blood as well. Referee Danny McKelly is just checking on Victor Gyökeres. He's cut his lip, the Swede who scored the all-important goal to take Sweden to the World Cup. Chance for Martin Odegaard to come across to the Arsenal medical team, take on some fluids. Warm, humid night in Madrid. They're expecting some rain. There was stormy conditions forecast. Arsenal's first corner tonight. They've scored 17 goals from corners in the Premier League. That is a Premier League record. It's uncharted territory, new for the league themselves this season. And that has been one of the criticisms of this Arsenal team, that, well, for a long period of the season they have been barging teams aside with relative ease. They've done it not necessarily in the most eye-catching of ways. That won't matter to Arsenal fans, don't get me wrong. And if come the end of the season they lift the Premier League trophy and maybe even the Champions League, not many people will remember the way in which they went about doing it. Needs must, and what works, works, but they have had their critics this year. It's funny as well, because Atletico Madrid often receive the same criticism from members of the Spanish press and Spanish public about the way they set their stall out. And again, Diego Simeone makes no bones about the way he wants his teams to play him. It can be so difficult to break down. Barcelona, at their cost, found that out in the last round. Here's Madueke's ball towards the near post, pretty poor delivery, and Arsenal with some claims for a penalty. It was Martinelli that went down on the penalty spot. Capie was lurking there. He went down on a bit of contact with the Atletico Madrid players, and now Gabriel, as the ball goes out of play, will trot back across to Danny McKelly to try and make his point. In fact, it was Gabriel rather, who was just held up by Koke, who held that left arm out, and Gabriel ran into it. I've met in the semi-final of a European competition before, like in the semi-finals of the Europa League in 2018. Arsenal winners of that one, lost out to Chelsea in the final. Thrown on the near side. Switch out towards the left. It was intended for Matteo Ruggeri. It's over the touchline for an Arsenal throw. It's swiftly taken by Ben White into William Saliba. And now time on the ball for the Frenchman. Rice backpedaling alongside the two centre-backs to help with the build-up play. It's Subimendi. Now Rice. Koke trying to trigger the press. Rice again. Gabriel. Back to Raya. To Saliba. There's Alvarez close to him. Raya has to sweep it away rather hurriedly. And it's out of play on the far side for an Atleti throw-in. He looked to struggle a little bit with that initial pressure from Atletico Madrid. And it was a clearing kick delivered with a little bit of panic from the Arsenal goalkeeper. But they've won it back in a decent position. Wasted it immediately. Gabriel's ball overhit and straight into the gloves of Jan Oblak. Here's Rice. Wouldn't stick with him. Here's Lookman now. Griezmann. Alvarez back to Griezmann. Alvarez again. And he'll be joining Inter Miami at the end of the season. So this will be his final competitive appearance here at the Metropolitano. Oblak bounces away off Gabriel. Again over the touchline, throwing for Marcus Llorente. Ping downfield. There is Saliba mopping up. Gabriel. Saliba. Rice will take it off the defenders. Under a little bit of pressure as well. Cardoso on his heels. And that's a nice ball on the half turn into the middle of the park. It was Hincapié looking for Madueke, who had to scamper back and almost fight for possession, but he's on it now. Hincapié in a central position at the moment with the ball on the right-hand side with Martin Odegaard. And Ben White, inside it goes by Saliba. Rice, Gabriel, and now into midfield for Hincapié. White, Madueke. White with the run down the right-hand side. Madueke will step in field. Try to feed it in towards Martin Odegaard. Coming away with it down that left-hand side comes Koke. Now here's Lookman. Edge of the penalty area finds Griezmann. Griezmann finds Lookman again. This time he tries to turn in the box. It's good defensive work by Madueke, adding to the numbers in the penalty area. Left-hand side now with Ruggeri. Fizzed in there, away by Saliba. Now here's Hansko. Cardoso. That's off Madueke. Koke. Cardoso. Griezmann. Lent it to Koke. Now Griezmann finds Ruggeri, left-hand side, and it's a headed effort by Alvarez from the penalty spot that's over the crossbar. It's been a good start for Atletico Madrid. You expected Arsenal would dominate possession this evening, and it's got the not quite what the statistics are telling us. It's 53 to 40. 54-46 on in terms of possession between the hosts and the visitors. Madueke, was he caught there by Ruggieri? Wants a free kick. And Danny McKelly is going to wave away his appeals. Just the one shot on target so far, with almost half an hour played now. Zubimendi tussling for it, Cardoso a little unsettled. Back heel under pressure by Ruggieri, now Hansko. Cardoso. Here's Odegaard, relentless for the moment Arsenal. Here's Madueke, edge of the penalty area. Madueke tries his luck from a long way out, and it's not too far away, you know. Oblak was concerned for a moment before it faded away from his right hand upright. Just tracks across the face of the penalty area. Oblak might have had it covered, but it's a brilliant effort from Noni Madueke. Martinelli, Zubimendi, Martinelli on the half turn, bounces through to Gyökeres. Odegaard couldn't take it with him, and Oblak will clear the danger for Madrid. It's tucked back by Cardoso to Oblak into the pulsating semi-final first leg that we saw between PSG and Bayern Munich. We weren't expecting that, but still just as fascinating in its own right. Here's Odegaard, right of centre. Chance maybe for Arsenal to create something as we get closer to half-time at the Estadio Metropolitano. It's Atletico with the only shot on target so far. Left-hand side is Martinelli now. Just seeing how he gets on as he drifts infield. Capier, Martinelli, laid off to Gabriel, back to the edge of the centre circle. Saliba, Gabriel, he has to turn for home again, and it's David Raya who finds Declan Rice, who it is on the right hand side of that back line at the moment. Saliba, he's run into trouble, and now here's Lookman poking the ball free, back to Ademola Lookman, edge of the penalty area, not too many around him. We'll find one of them. It's Griezmann, corner of the penalty area near side. Giuliano Simeone tried to find Julian Alvarez, caught on his heels as he was coming back from an offside position. He wasn't offside, you know, he just couldn't quite make the most of that ball won in the Arsenal half of the pitch. Atletico Madrid. I was a little bit surprised that Ademola Lookman didn't take on a few more then. And William Saliba as well, maybe slightly overconfident in the way in which he tried to take that on and drive that forward for Arsenal. It's often how they play, pushing into midfield, the two centre-backs, to try and open up some gaps in the opposition back line. They do have to be careful. With about 10 minutes of the first half remaining, it's still Atletico Madrid 0, Arsenal 0 at the Estadio. Up down that left-hand side, he was hoping for to Arsenal's game as half-time beckons. We'll get the ball moving again, Atletico Madrid. Down this left-hand side it goes. He's Oblak. Kubil. Similar one driven down the left flank where Saliba can just tidy that up and slip it back to the goalkeeper. Raya, and they've lost it again in a dangerous position here, Arsenal. Koke, Alvarez, edge of the penalty area, will it open up for him? Tries his luck anyway. It's straight at Gabriel, and then Julian Alvarez, in trying to win it back, he's fouled the Arsenal defender on the edge of the penalty area, but the effort is applauded by Diego Simeone, the Atletico Madrid manager. It's a combination of Nkapie and Gabriel, just making sure that didn't threaten the Arsenal goal. And there it is again, that pressure from Atletico Madrid, three of them in a line on the edge of the Arsenal penalty area, almost teasing Raya into going long. He'll play it short to Rice, shuffles that to his left with his back to play to William Saliba. It's back with David Raya again. Here's Ødegaard for Declan Rice. Rice stepping away. Martinelli slides it down the left for Nkapie. Gyökeres made the diagonal run. Nkapie elects instead to go infield to Zubimendi. Wandering through the centre circle. He'll now find William Saliba. Zubimendi inside right. Saliba. White. Trying to slip it through to Madueke. Broken up just outside the penalty area. That's a loose pass from Cardoso. And here comes Nkapie. It's White out there on the right-hand side. Atletico want the throw-in. Nigeri's claims turned down by the assistant referee. By William Saliba. Back to Ben White on. And Cardoso all trying to be careful here for Atletico Madrid. It's a switch of play out to Gabriel Martinelli, who thought he'd kept it in play, well at least tried to. And to throw in for Atletico on this near side. The ball floated down the touchline by Piero Nkapie. That's forward by Koke. Rice trying to get on the end of it. Instead it's Lookman. Griezmann, diagonal run off the back of Gabriel, but still with Lookman, who's shifted across to this right-hand side now. Ademola Lookman. Runner alongside him, Koke, the low cross, driven at Piero Nkapie. That'll be an Atletico Madrid throw-in. 7 minutes remaining in the first half. Atletico Madrid 0, Arsenal 0. It's a scoreline that many expected, and one that probably will suit Madrid more than it will Arsenal. Madrid the masters of the counter-attack. Here's Simeone into Koke, back to Giuliano Simeone on the right-hand side, trying to shake off the Martinelli shackles. Llorente, he's done well there. Simeone, a challenge he had to make because Arsenal were ready to zip forward on the counter. Koke, Griezmann. His touch took him towards Ødegaard, who won it back on the edge of the Arsenal box. Now maybe a chance for Arsenal to sprint off forward into space. Gyökeres on this left-hand side. That's laid off. Finds Gabriel Martinelli. Rice. It's all the way on the right-hand side now, forward to Madueke. Down the left flank for Martinelli. Simeone trying to stick with him. Martinelli look for the curling effort. It's straight at Llorente's head. Gabriel is up on the edge of the box for Arsenal. Zubimendi. Now Rice. Drifting wide. Out to Hincapié on the left touchline. Not much risk so far in this opening 40 minutes. Let's go with really strange form. They've already gone all in on this competition. They're comfortably in the top 4 of La Liga. And I would have loved to have lifted the Copa del Rey. Real Sociedad with a historic win that evening. And since that point, you can sense that all their efforts, their energies, their most important players have been rested for this campaign. It's form that doesn't really scream Champions League finalists, but you have to see as well that those 34 goals, like a far up cry from the side that are playing this style this evening, but still with that threat. Here is Martinelli. Gabriel bounced away off of Ruggeri for a moment. Madueke was interested, but Atletico Madrid have got it clear, and here comes Simeone. Griezmann at the back post wants it. Simeone tried to curl it into his path. The clearance was off of Saliba, and Alvarez has tried to do a little bit too much on the edge of the box. Raya scoops it up and bowls it out. Gyökeres down the left-hand side. Llorente comes across, really smart defending from the Madrid left-back, or right-back I should say. Came across to the Arsenal left to get in the way of Victor Gyökeres. Koke with the header, almost dropped to Gyökeres there. Instead it's Cardoso on the edge of his own penalty area, finds Ruggeri. And now Hansko, Pubil, forward, Griezmann laid it off. Over the top by Koke, cushion header back by Alvarez, picked off by Zubimendi. Now Gyökeres, Zubimendi links up with Victor Gyökeres, and the referee will point to the penalty spot. He was just bumped from behind there, Gyökeres. It's a soft penalty. He made the most of the contact, but Danny Makely has given Arsenal the chance to go ahead here from the spot. Diego Simeone already in the fourth official's ear. He's waving his finger. He can't believe this. We'll have a look at the replay for you. It all comes from a misplaced header backwards by Alvarez. Ødegaard hooked it on. Hincapié slipped it through to Victor Gyökeres. David Hansko is bumped into him from behind. It's a challenge from the back. I'm not sure. Oh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, you know. And it's going to stand. He can't overturn it, that's the problem. Diego Simeone, the suggestion to the fourth official is that Victor Gyökeres has spread himself, almost backed his rear end. To almost make sure of the contact. Well, the check is over, the penalty stands, and it's going to be Martin Ødegaard to go on the score sheet for the first time in the Champions League this season. It's clever play from Gyökeres, and it's actually been left to the big centre forward, Victor Gyökeres. Martin Ødegaard, just a temporary custodian. It's Victor Gyökeres from the spot. Drills it past Jan Oblak, and Arsenal take the lead. A cagey opening first half, finally punctuated by an inch-perfect penalty from the big Swede. In the 45th minute, Arsenal lead 1-0 in the Metropolitano, a soft penalty. but one that was always going to stand. There was never a chance of Dennis Higler overturning that. And on second look, Jan Oblak gets a big hand to it. He'll be a little bit disappointed he didn't prevent that from going in. Hačko, the offender. Madrid still not happy with the referee's decision. There's nothing they can do. Need to find a way back into this one. Might have to wait until the second half, though. Atletico Madrid. It's Victor Gyökeres' fifth goal of the Champions League this season. A really important goal for Arsenal. Here's Lookman. Madrid looking for an immediate response. Lookman. Alvarez lays it off to Koke. Rougerie left-hand side, in towards the near post. Lookman will stretch, always an awkward one. And his header goes behind for a goal kick. Was the first real major point of the game. The foul on Victor Gyökeres. The penalty, which he made no mistake from. When you feel it's going to be a game of fine margins, a tie of fine margins, both here in the Spanish capital and back at the Emirates in a week's time. Long from Raya, cushion back by Hačko. A minute left to play. We're into 2 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. Long from Oblak. And it's good work from Saliba just to hold off Griezmann, allow the goalkeeper to come and pick it up on the edge of the 18-yard box as that bounced into David Raya's hands. It's long from the Arsenal goalkeeper. Aimed at Madueke. Madrid let it bounce. Drops into midfield for Zubimendi. Now Martinelli on the overlap. Came in Cappier, but he didn't quite get the pass right, Gabriel Martinelli. And it's Jan Oblak's ball here. Oblak with the long clearance. A little flick off of Julian Alvarez. And Danny McKelly will blow the whistle for half-time. The Atletico Madrid players, a few of them have made a beeline towards the referee. Still not happy with the award of the penalty, and you can sympathise with them, having seen the replays, the way in which Victor Gyökeres uses his body, almost backs into David Hačko. Koke pleading his defender's case, but the moment that Danny McKelly pointed to the penalty spot, you sensed it wasn't going to be overturned, and that was the case. Dennis Higler had a look. There are storm clouds over the Estadio Metropolitano. Lightning in the sky, a game that hasn't really sparked into life, and Arsenal have the lead they wanted at the break. At half-time, it's Atletico Madrid 0. Well, welcome back to the Estadio Metropolitano. If last night's game between PSG and Bayern Munich was the blockbuster, this certainly is a bit of a tense drama. Chaos last night, control tonight, and just the one goal separating the two sides. Victor Gyökeres from the penalty spot. In the final minute before the break, a clumsy challenge from David Hansko, punished by the referee, Danny Makely. Not too many chances to speak of other than that penalty as they get back underway in this UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg. Atletico Madrid now playing from right to left, Arsenal from left to right. That advantage a slim one, but one they'll be banking a lot on. Mikel Arteta's men. A change at the break as well for Atletico Madrid, and Giuliano Simeone, who picked up a bang on the hip in the opening few minutes, has been withdrawn at the break, and the defender Robin Lenormand has come on in his place. Apart from that, we're as we started. So for Arsenal, that's Raya in goal, Hincapié, Gabriel, Saliba and White, the back four. Zubimendi, Rice and Ødegaard across the middle, Martinelli and Madueke either side of Victor Gyökeres, the goal scorer, his fifth in the Champions League this season. For Atletico, it's Oblak in goal, Llorente, Pubel, Hansko, Mkhitaryan, Lenormand, who we expect will slot in somewhere in there as well. Koke, Cardoso, Lookman, Griezmann and Alvarez rounding off the 11 as Lookman goes down under the nose of his manager Diego Simeone, who wasn't particularly happy with the award of the penalty. It's a pretty straightforward decision for the referee Danny Makely, you have to say, because well, Hansko was clumsy. You can have sympathy for Simeone and Atletico Madrid's pleas after that penalty decision, that it was a little bit soft, and Gyökeres did seem to use his body and maybe sealed the ball, attract that clumsy contact from the Slovakian. But it's Atletico Madrid with the work to do at the start of this second half. A minute gone, and no chances yet in the second period here. The 16th semi-final between English and Spanish sides in the Champions League. English sides have gone through 9 times. Atletico tend to struggle against English teams that have a perfect record in semi-finals against English opposition. And from a performance perspective, you might argue it's the best sort of approach to the game from Arsenal. Not here to entertain, they are here to return to the Emirates next week with a lead. Controlled, it's not risky. And it's Atletico Madrid in front of their vociferous home support, who are tossing rolls of toilet paper from the stands before the kick-off, and they've resumed doing so at the start of this second half. As Victor Gyökeres, it's his turn to now complain about the referee's decision-making. It's bumped into the back of Johnny Cardoso. It's pretty much the same challenge that he won the penalty from, a few yards further forward from where Johnny Cardoso goes down. And I don't know what Gyökeres is complaining about, really. So Atletico with a free kick just outside the Arsenal box. David Raya trying to organise his wall. Alvarez and Griezmann both standing over it. Alvarez pinged in a beautiful free kick against Barcelona in the first leg of the last round. That one isn't far away, it's into the side netting from Alvarez, 30 yards or so away from goal. He was pretty concerned there, David Raya, for a moment. It was swinging towards the top corner. Some in the ground thought that it went in. Brilliant free kick from Julian Alvarez. A reminder for Arsenal, the threat that Atletico Madrid still pose here tonight Here's Rice. He spent more time between the two centre-backs than he has in midfield this evening. Has freed up both Ben White and Piero Hincapié to add to the numbers in midfield. Hincapié has been playing as an auxiliary midfield, and now Rice will start to carry the ball out of defence. Can't get it past Lookman. Here's Ødegaard. Turns it back for Saliba. Has Alvarez breathing down his neck. Now Raya. Lashes one forward. It's away by Llorente. In fact, Marcos Llorente stepped up into midfield. So I think it's Robin Lenormand who is filling in at right back now, in the absence of Giuliano Simeone in midfield. Back by Ruggeri to Jan Oblak. Hansko to Oblak on his 6-yard line at the moment. There's Slovenian. Ruggeri forward. It's a heavy bounce off of Lookman's chest. Back by Koke. Oblak with the first time ball forward. Straight down the middle where Saliba will meet it with his head in the centre circle. Towering over Madueke was Ruggeri. Cardoso with a toe to the ball. And there's a hand there and a free kick for Atletico Madrid. A shake of the head though from Johnny Cardoso. Atletico Madrid wanted the advantage. Diego Simeone certainly did as well. They'll try and fish it out to the right hand side for Llorente, making a nuisance of himself with Hincapié. David Raya can't pick it up, has to launch it out for a Atletico Madrid throw-in. Into Pupil. He's actually the man tasked with filling in at right back. Lenormand and Hansko the centre pairing, and now here Atletico Madrid getting away down the middle. Alvarez finds Lookman, drives in at Raya, maybe Griezmann on the follow-up. Griezmann again! It's over the crossbar by way of a little flick on the way through. Koke appealing to the referee for a handball. Somehow it went over the crossbar. There were lots of bodies in the way. It's off of Gabriel, who's got his arms clasped behind his back. Corner kick for Atletico, high towards the back post. And that's off William Saliba for another corner kick, this time on the other side. Brilliant block from Gabriel. Brilliant block. There was a little kick out in anger as well from Antoine Griezmann at the post. Griezmann floats one to the edge of the penalty area. Llorente! Decision to make again. This one might go to VAR. All were up in arms, claiming a handball. Dennis Hiegler's going to take a look. Well, I think this one's going to be given, you know. Ben White's arm is dangling down low. It's just having a word with both captains. Diego Simeone is confirming to his players that he's seen the replay, and that certainly hit an arm. Danny McAlee's been called across to the pitch side monitor. And if this one isn't given, there will be a deep sense of injustice inside the Estadio Metropolitano. The one mitigating factor might be that it bounces off his shin and then onto his hand, but Danny McAlee's pitch side looking at the monitor. He points to the penalty spot. Gabriel can't believe it. There was a smile accompanying Danny McAlee's decision. It just bounced off the shin and onto the hand. There was a bit of controversy last night. Ousmane Dembele won a penalty with the ball pinged at Alphonso Davies. And so a penalty here to level things up for Atletico Madrid. Julian Alvarez has the ball in his hands. If last night was a penalty, this one had to be a penalty too. You don't like to see them sometimes, and you can see why Arsenal are frustrated. But for now, it's Alvarez versus Raya. Alvarez puts it into the top corner. David Raya didn't even move. When your arm is away from your body like that, you give the referee a decision to make. Danny McAlee initially waved away the protests, but on the advice of the video assistant referee, he had a look at the pitch side monitor, and Atletico Madrid are back on level terms. It's 1-1, 11 minutes into the second half, and even if David Raya had guessed the right way, there is no way he's getting anything on it. Well, prior to the penalty, David Raya came across to the coaches on the sidelines, had a word with the goalkeeping coach. I think he gave him the advice to stand still. Julian Alvarez previously has had a tendency to put them down the middle. This one was right into the top corner. And it's quite brilliant from Julian Alvarez. And that's double figures for the season as well in the Champions League. That's his 10th in 14 games. 20 goals in all competitions for the former Manchester City man. And it's forced Arsenal into a change. Off goes the captain Martin Odegaard. Well, on comes Mr. Spring himself, Eberechi Eze. Seems to come alive at this time of year. Roll back almost a year to the day. It'll be in a few days' time, the year anniversary from the goal that he pinged into the back of the Manchester City net to win Crystal Palace the FA Cup. Can he re-establishes Arsenal's lead in this UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg? A reminder, of course, that they'll go again in a week's time at the Emirates. As that's hooked out of play by William Saliba. And you might say that the momentum is with Madrid at the moment as the stadium starts to bounce. The Atletico Madrid supporters hopping up and down in the stands around the Estadio Metropolitano, and a bit of energy in the way they're approaching things now. Here's Griezmann on the right-hand side. It's Marcos Llorente trying to shrug off Hincapié. Alvarez. Griezmann. Alvarez in the middle of the park. Middle of the Arsenal half. Ruggeri. Lookman. Ruggeri inside. Alvarez tried to slip it back to Lookman, read by Saliba. Cardoso can't pick it away from Victor Gyökeres. Martinelli goes down. That'll be a free kick for Arsenal just outside the centre circle. Well, it's his 10th goal in this Champions League campaign. It's his 25th and his 41st Champions League appearance, Julian Alvarez. It's the fewest games taken to reach 25 goals by any South American in the competition. Even better than Lionel Messi, who scored his 45th in the 42nd. Trying to keep the ball moving here. Back toward the penalty area. There's a throw in on the near side for Atletico. But they've won it back, Arsenal. Barreche tried to get away, but it's been given Atletico Madrid's way on the far side. This little clip of the ankles by Gabriel on Griezmann. Hansko. Ruggieri. Lookman. Alvarez tries to weave his way through. Declan Rice has the captain's armband on. He caught a chunk out of Alvarez there as the former City man tried to wriggle his way through the Arsenal midfield. Atletico have the advantage. Alvarez has stayed down here though. And Hansko will eventually pop it out, so Alvarez can receive a bit of treatment. He's still holding quite high up that left leg, up near his knee. We have yet to see a replay. We will now. It's just a bit late from Declan Rice. Alvarez was stretching, poked it away from Rice. The follow through is caught. Alvarez just below the knee. That's a sore one for Alvarez. I'm not sure it needs any more action from the referee, Danny McAley. We're in their 7th European Cup semi-final. Atletico Madrid are right in the game here. Diego Simeone at the end of his contract, at the end of this season. Speculation and he might not sign another one. Four of those 7 semi-finals have come under his stewardship. Mikel Arteta called him a role model this week, and he said he has admired the way he's transformed the club from also runs to one of the top sides in La Liga. As here's Lookman, edge of the penalty area, tries to tee up Griezmann, it's off the crossbar. Ruggieri back into the penalty area, Griezmann again, and that one blazes wide. It's off Gabriel for a corner. So close to taking the lead, not once but twice there, Atletico Madrid. And no surprise to see it's Antoine Griezmann with a hand in this. So close to a beautiful finish from Antoine Griezmann. It's hit the angle of crossbar and post. And then Gabriel again, not for the first time tonight, with his body in the way. Pushing and shoving in front of David Raya. Alvarez over the corner kick. Danny McAley having a little word with the players in the 6-yard box. In by Alvarez towards Griezmann at the near post. Rice gets in the way of it. Another corner for Atletico Madrid. It's the Roy Blanco with all the momentum at the moment. Alvarez again, and that time it's pushed over the crossbar by David Raya, who was bouncing around in his 6-yard box. Just shoveled over the top. I think he went for goal there, Julian Alvarez. Fingertip stuff from the Arsenal goalkeeper. It'll be Griezmann to take from the opposite side. Swung into the near post. Lenormand was there. Drops here to Llorente. Down the outside again for Griezmann. Stands one up towards the penalty spot. Drops to Lookman at the far post. The volley is wide. We're starting to rack up the chances now, Madrid, and Arsenal need to find something because they've lost control of this. It was a lovely little flick on by Hansko at the near post. And Ademola Lookman just couldn't get over the top of his effort. Needs to drill it low and hard across the goalkeeper, Lookman. Instead, it's just sliced off the outside of his left boot. Challenge on Johnny Cardoso by Martin Zubimendi is going to be penalised by the referee. Arsenal preparing Gabriel Jesus. And Bukayo Saka too. Saliba. Well, Trossard is getting ready as well. It looks like we're going to see Gabriel Jesus, Bukayo Saka and Leandro Trossard all coming on shortly. This one back in midfield yet again by Atletico Madrid. Llorente back to Lenormand. Here's Hansko. Back to Oblak. Saliba in midfield with the header forward. Martinelli. His time may be numbered. That's Kudishman's Gyökeres. Eze, edge of the penalty area, right hand side, Madueke. Another who looks set to come off shortly. Tried the back heel towards Ben White, he made the overlapping run. Instead it's with Declan Rice. Treating back into his own half to find William Saliba. Little slip through ball, clever from Ruggieri to step across the path of Madueke, allowed Oblak to clear the danger. Now here's Eze. Tussling on the near side with Johnny Cardoso. Now a chance for Arsenal to get their reinforcements on. And there is confirmation. Gabriel Martinelli will be replaced by Leandro Trossard. Reports before the game linking Trossard with a return to Belgium at the end of the season. He's often used in this kind of role, coming on for 20-minute, 30-minute bursts. Off goes Noni Madueke, on comes Bukayo Saka, made his first appearance for over a month against Newcastle at the weekend. There's magic in that left boot. And when they call their star boy Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke isn't happy. And Gabriel Jesus is the last Arsenal substitute to come on, and he'll replace their goal scorer this evening, Victor Gyökeres, who will make the long walk back to the bench. So all of the front three replaced. And they haven't really seen much of the ball in this second half. You can understand why Mikel Arteta has made wholesale changes at this juncture. It's Trossard's first touch, and it's to give it away to Alvarez. And Fowler player as well. Alvarez, Griezmann, towards Lookman at the back post. Probably could have got alone, Antoine Griezmann. Here's Cardoso in midfield. Griezmann bounces it off Alvarez. Back to Griezmann. Just got away from him. Here is Saka. Saliba floated up towards the halfway line, taken down by Jesus. Jesus trying to escape down the right hand side. It's clever. Saka dispossessed. Here's Cardoso. He's got Bukayo Saka with his leg wrapped round his thigh. And Atletico Madrid have the advantage. Hansko, real desire being shown by the home team at the moment. Whatever Diego Simeone said to them at half-time has certainly landed. And it's Mikel Arteta's men that are really chasing things now. Eberechi Eze has come across to the right-hand side, it seems. Jesus to the middle. Saka is playing a deeper role at the moment. Here's Eze, dispossessed by Alvarez. Now Griezmann on the left-hand side. Links up with Koke. Cardoso, back to Koke. Hansko. Less than 20 minutes remaining now. There's Oblak. Lookman pokes it away from Saka. Alvarez, 3 around him. Turns back into a little pocket of space. There's a Pupil up there as well. Alvarez took his time to make his decision, which has allowed Arsenal to get bodies behind the ball. It's like a 4-4-2 now from Arsenal, you know, with Bereza and Gabriel Jesus, that front two. Rice and Zubimendi in the middle, Trossard and Saka on the left and right respectively. Here's Lenormand down the right hand side, laid off by Llorente. Now Pupil. Cardoso in the centre circle. Hansko towards this left hand side, slipped down the flank, finds Ruggeri, shrugs off Saka. Alvarez in towards the edge of the box where Griezmann had tried to peel off Gabriel, poked away by the Brazilian. It's out towards the right hand side for Marc Pupil. Now Lenormand, Cardoso, Hansko, Ruggeri, Hansko, Cardoso. Eze is lurking, but Arsenal can't really get near the ball at the moment. Lenormand, Pupil. Back to Oblak. Hansko. Oblak. Lenormand. High ball down the right hand side. Llorente will chase. Griezmann came across to put Gabriel under pressure. Did the right thing in putting it out of play for an Atletico throw in. Llorente. Back to Robin Lenormand. Now Hansko on the edge of the centre circle, inside the Atleti half of the pitch. They haven't necessarily been expansive in this tournament. Arsenal need to be at the moment, though. Need to show a little bit of attacking thrust, because this is what Atletico Madrid can do to you, whether it's home, away. They can keep it tight and it suits them. It's a game plan that tends to suit Arsenal, especially domestically. Bodies tumbling in the Atletico half of the pitch. Clean challenges, though, according to Danny Makely, by the Atletico Madrid players. Here's Alvarez in the centre circle. Runners alongside him. Llorente is one of them. Will feed it to Marcos Llorente. Edge of the penalty area. Llorente across to Lookman. Will turn. Ademola Lookman is straight at David Raya. Best chance of the game. Had to do better there, Ademola Lookman. Now Atletico Madrid with the advantage. Alvarez goes down. In by Ruggeri, deflection, and that's held onto by David Raya. And Alvarez has stayed down. Eze, Saka. Just couldn't generate any power, Ademola Lookman, despite the clever little turn. Here he is again. Hansko getting forward. Turns backwards as he realised Alvarez was still on the deck. He's just getting back to his feet. The Argentinian. Koke, Lenormand, Llorente, Griezmann, with close control. Clever little ball as well for Cardoso. Here's Llorente. Back to Pupil. Koke to Hansko to his left. Tracking from left to right, finds Griezmann in the pocket in the centre circle. Now Koke in the left-back role, down the left-hand side for the left-back Ruggeri. Ademola Lookman drifting off his man, little chop into the penalty area, lost his footing just at the wrong moment, so they all come away with it. Trossard. It's a soft foul from Marc Pupil. As Leandro Trossard wasn't going anywhere. having a little look back at that Lookman chance. If he goes over, you know, there's a good chance of a second penalty there. He stayed on his feet. The challenge from Ben White, he was pretty much all over the back of Ademola Lookman. He's really lucky there, the England international. Rice, Saliba. Well, Alvarez is sat down. The knocks he's had this evening mean he's probably going to go off shortly. Diego Simeone trying to get the attention of the referee to make that clear. Is Rice to Saka on the right-hand side. Saka back in field to Rice. That won't get past Koke, who puts that out of play, so Julian Alvarez can be seen to and probably withdrawn here. And it looks like it's going to be Alex Baena. The big problem seems to have come was Eberechi Eze tumbled into his Achilles as he was trying to win the ball off Julian Alvarez. And comes Baena. Should be in a bit more of a attacking role, more of a recognised centre-forward type position for Antoine Griezmann. Baena was deployed as a centre-forward against Elche. Didn't necessarily work out for them. Nico Gonzalez it was that stole all the headlines that evening. Let's go forward. Saliba evades the slide challenge of Griezmann. And that's exactly what's happened. Griezmann has just taken a few steps forward to fill in that centre-forward position vacated by Julian Alvarez. Alex Baena will operate as a support striker. Hansko gets a toe to the ball in front of Eze. Does he? No, says the referee. He's pointed to the penalty spot. Eberechi Eze, the substitute, wins Arsenal another penalty. It looked to be a good challenge to me from David Hansko, who's going to be shown the yellow card, surely for something he said to Danny McAlee. And he's sure of it, David Hansko. He says they need to have a look at this, so let's have a look ourselves. It was into Saka, in by Saka to Eze. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, he stepped on his foot. He's not really aware he's there, I think, David Hansko. It's the same player. There's not a lot in it. And he's debating it with Eberechi Eze. They're going to check this. Dennis Hiegler is still looking at it. And Diego Simeone wants the referee to have a look at the pitch side monitor. And if Lookman goes down at the other end, as we pointed out shortly after that chance for Ademola Lookman, it will be a penalty for Atletico Madrid. Instead, it's Arsenal with a chance to restore their lead. And Dennis Hiegler still passing on the advice to Danny McAlee, and the longer it goes on, the more you think that this might be overturned, you know. It's going to be called across to the pitch side monitor. Huge moment for both of these two sides. There was a long old conversation between Danny McAlee and the video assistant referee. It's a very slight contact. Very slight contact. I can't tell you what they're going to make, this choice they're going to make here. It looks like it's side to side, both boots making contact with each other. Eze's got there first. The more he's looked at it, the more you think that they might overturn this decision. Well, Danny McAlee's had enough of a look. He's made his decision, and he's going to overturn his decision. No penalty, and a huge moment of controversy. Massive, massive. Diego Simeone is pumped up. David Hansko was booked in the aftermath of that. A wry smile from Eberechi Eze. And Diego Simeone, I think, is suggesting that that should be a yellow card for simulation. It was a soft penalty to begin with. There is such minimal contact between the two. The moment he pointed to the spot, you thought, though, that it would stay as a penalty. It's that famous phrase we have been hearing time after time involving VAR, clear and obvious error. I don't know if I want to see penalties given for that kind of challenge in the first place. But you have to feel for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal that penalty hasn't stood. Anyway, 7.5 minutes remaining. Atletico Madrid 1, Arsenal 1. Last night's game between Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich hit the headlines for all the right reasons. Tonight it's been controversial decisions, it's been penalties, it's been cagey, it's been all about the cauldron of the Estadio Metropolitano and the pressure applied by the likes of Diego Simeone and this partisan crowd tonight. The pivotal figure this evening hasn't been Julian Alvarez, it hasn't been Antoine Griezmann, it hasn't been Bukayo Saka. It's been Danny McAlee, the referee. Saliba for Rice. Rice across to Gabriel. Trossard. Forward by Saliba. Here's Jesus. Hasn't done much since coming on. He's given it away, in fact, to Baena. Here's Carloso. Slips at the wrong moment. Saka finds Jesus. Here's White. Eze fizzes that through. Trossard. And flinging himself in the way was Robin Lenormand. Eze now trying to force the issue, found Trossard edge of the penalty area. He's found Griezmann. And here comes Atletico Madrid going forward. Christian Mosquera is going to be the final Arsenal change coming on shortly. Eze, left-hand side of the pitch for Arsenal now. Rice on the edge of the centre circle. Trying to weave his way through. It's down the outside towards Nkapie. Pubel in the way. Throw in for Arsenal, is it on the far side? Well, here come the changes, and it's a straight swap for Ben White at fullback. Christian Mosquera will come on. We're about to see Nahuel Molina, the World Cup winner with Argentina, for Atletico Madrid, another fullback on. Here's Rice on the right-hand side. Forward by Saliba. Eze halfway. Little layoff between the lines. Mosquera. Little bounce with Eze. Mosquera straight at Oblak. It's straight up in the air. Might drop to Saka. Nods it back across the face of goal. Cardoso with the header away. Lookman challenging with Trossard. Here's Gabriel. Out to Saka on the right. Saka beats his man. Right-footed delivery. That's not his preferred foot. It's all the way out on the other side of the penalty. Trossard. Llorente. That'll be a free kick for Atletico Madrid. A very different kind of night. Another change for Atletico Madrid. Off goes Johnny Cardoso to be replaced by Nahuel Molina. Two minutes remaining in the 90. Food for thought for both managers. A big weekend for Arsenal, of course, in the Premier League. And they had an opportunity tonight, maybe, to put this tie well within their control. Here's Eze. Still could do it, you know, here, Arsenal. Body's on the edge of the Atletico box. Here's Trossard, left-hand side. Rice. Linking up with Trossard again. Trossard. Rice from a long way out. Oblak. And diving away to his right. I think he was fairly comfortable. That was heading wide. And it's behind for a goal kick as we move into the 90th minute of the Estadio Metropolitano. Went for the spectacular Rice. Just pinged off the stanchion behind Jan Oblak's goal. It's a long ball downfield from the Atletico Madrid goalkeeper. And Arsenal now, the side pushing for a late winner. Here's Jesus. And forward backwards. Chasing was Molina. That's what he's been brought on to do. Hincapié. Gabriel. Saliba. Rice. Saliba. Zubimendi. To Rice. Now Saka. Saliba trying to get forward. Eze to his left for Zubimendi. Left-hand side is Hincapié. There's the delivery all the way across the 6-yard box. Drops here to Saka on the right edge of the penalty area. Saka with the pullback. Rice strikes it straight against Lookman. We'll have 7 minutes of added time. Rice to Eze. That's given away. Here comes Baena. Keeps his footing. Still going Baena into the centre circle. Atletico with the advantage. It's gone backwards, and here's Llorente on the edge of the centre circle. Ujerby. Back to Hanko. No Lenormand. Let's go again. Right hand side with Pubel. Trossard. Dispossessed. Only temporarily though. Now is Zubimendi. Gabriel. Eze. Well, you can see exactly what Atletico Madrid think of this scoreline. This will do them. Happy to just soak up a bit of pressure now. This is back to what they looked like in the opening half of the game. Sharp work from Ruggeri to win the throw-in off of Bukayo Saka. Ruggeri. Lofted forward. Saliba underneath it, headed down by Koke. Back to him by Baena. Koke gets away from Eze. Griezmann. Shuffle to his right, getting forward here again now Atletico. Pubel, back post, Baena, back across the face of goal. Lookman was stretching, couldn't get on the end of it. And it's hacked away by Piero Hincapié for Atletico Madrid throw-in. David Raya not happy. He said he was coming to collect it. Now Ruggeri. Hansko. Lenormand. A long diagonal, looking for Lookman. Finds him. Touches it into the penalty area. And across comes William Saliba. Just slightly too heavy, the touch from Ademola Lookman. Eze's been dispossessed. Here's Hansko to his right. Shot from range. Tipped over by David Raya. Atletico Madrid think so. It was Nahuel Molina from the edge of the penalty area. Really good contact from the Argentine defender. Blasted it towards goal. Maybe a fingertip to it from David Raya. It's been given as a goal kick. It's difficult to tell on the replay. Maybe this final angle, it's always rising. Raya felt compelled to act anyway. It's long from the goalkeeper. It's flicked on by Gabriel. Scooped forward by Ruggeri. Drops here to Zubimendi. Saka with a lovely pirouette down the right-hand side. Llorente will get across. Saka. Riding challenges. Finds Eze. Now Trossard. To his left. Hincapié against Eze. Trossard fluffed his lines. Hincapié tries to juggle. And that's smart defending from Mark Pubel, the 22-year-old, just to guide it back to Jan Oblak. Five minutes of the added time played. 2 minutes left to go. All delicately poised at the moment as we head back to North London next week. What'll be a winner-takes-all scramble. Back by Matteo Ruggeri to Jan Oblak. Long down the right-hand side. Header won by Hincapié. Koke forward, Lenormand with a header. Here's Rice, crossing halfway, down the left flank it goes to Piero Hincapié. The early cross is blocked, poked away by Pubil. Llorente backwards. Atletico Madrid with the free kick. Leandro Trossard it was with the infringement. As we move into the final minutes of added time. In many ways, Atletico Madrid's contentment with this current scoreline is a mark of respect for what Arsenal can do to you. Not tonight, though. It's been another relatively stilted performance from Mikel Arteta's team. Another game where they've struggled to correct too many chances, barring the penalty. You can't think of many saves that Jan Oblak has had to make. Not in much of a rush to take this free kick in their own half either. It will be Gabriel eventually. That's forward to Eze. And the referee blows the full-time whistle. They took too long over the final set-piece, Arsenal. And we will go back to the Emirates with it all to play for next week. A game of 2 penalties, 3 if you count the one that was chalked off on review. There are hugs all round, but it was a game fought and battled for. While there were goals galore between PSG and Bayern Munich last night. This one, while lacking quite the same attacking impetus, still was packed full of drama. Victor Gyökeres failed by David Hansko just before half-time to give Arsenal the lead. The handball was a contentious one. Ben White getting in the way of Marcos Llorente's volleyed effort from the edge of the penalty area. It struck the shin and then flicked onto his outstretched left arm. Julian Alvarez made no mistake from the penalty spot. That gave Atletico Madrid the kick up the rear that they were really looking for from the word go. And for a lot of the game, a lot of that second half especially, they looked like the team that would go on and win it. Abere Eze thought that he'd won his side a second penalty of the evening, and another which would have been conceded by David Hansko. Danny Makely pointed to the spot only to try to cross to the pitch side monitor, have a look at a couple of the replays. Dennis Higler passed on his advice and he overturned his decision. Atletico Madrid with opportunities. Antoine Griezmann rattled the woodwork, and they'll be confident heading to North London next week against a Arsenal side that haven't been confident at all. The big talking point, of course, will be that overturned penalty. Wasn't a clear and obvious error in my, but that'll be Arsenal's line. Atletico Madrid will point to other decisions that went against them. Ademola Lookman could have been felled by Ben White in the other penalty area moments before, but stayed on his feet. It'll be a fascinating tussle next week as they return to North London, looking to book a place in the Champions League final. Who will join PSG or Bayern Munich from these two sides? Well, it's anyone's guess on tonight's showing. The Arsenal players all applauding the travelling Arsenal supporters tonight in the Estadio Metropolitano. Well, we haven't been served up a goal fest, but an evening packed to the rafters, full of drama. Full time in Madrid, and it's finished. Atletico Madrid 1, Arsenal 1.